My name is April Warren. I am a author of the book Sunshine Day, screenwriter and a film producer, and mother of two.
My name is Aisha Malone. I am a fifth grade ELA teacher. I have been teaching for 10 years. I am also the owner and co-founder of Rose Café. I'm also a mother of two.
My name is Rebecca Silverman. I am a former elementary school teacher. I taught for 3 years with Aisha, and I'm currently attending school to pursue a degree in education policy. And I am the co-founder and creative director at Rose Café. And I am the mother to 0 children, but 2 dogs. So we first wanted to start off the conversation just by asking you what your inspiration was to write this story and why you wanted this story to be told.
Okay. Well, my inspiration for writing Sunshine Day was my dad. The book is basically my father's story. Well, both my father and my mother's story. My dad was suffering from mental illness, and I don't want to give away too much from the book, but I just wanted to bring awareness to mental illness, suicide, and domestic violence.
So when we had talks, April, and I asked you a little bit about your book, your response to me that it was a love story. So when I started reading the book, I noticed that there was a lot of pain in that. I'm wondering if you could speak to our audience a little bit of how do you call what a reader will endure a love story?
Well, I call it a love story because it's about my mom and my dad who was together since she was, I believe, 14, had 8 kids. And I mean, they were in love. My dad, he just unfortunately got sick because of life experiences that he went through, couldn't cope with it. Being that mental illness is kind of like swept under the rug in the African American community, things got out of control, and a tragedy unfolded, unfortunately.
Why did you decide to write this as a play?
Well, actually, at first, I wasn't writing it as a play. I actually started writing this for therapeutic reasons. Then it turned into a play. I chose to write it as a play because when I was working at Beasley Elementary School, I let one of my coworkers actually read some of what I was written, and she kind of encouraged me to do so, and went from there.
So it has been made into a movie, but not a play?
Yes. No, it's been made into a movie. So it is a movie out, Sunshine Day, which is on Amazon and a couple other platforms. So it's a screenplay, and it was turned into a film.
When I was reading the book, I was noticing that you brought a lot of, when you were very detailed in your writing, to remind us of the 1969 era. And you did a really good job of talking about like the bell bottoms, the Irish Rose. I was wondering, because in the book you talked about a lot of people, because on days that was big, red Irish Rose was around. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about like alcohol and how we use that to cope and how we use that to get through things, because a lot of things transpired in the book.
Yes. Well, people normally use alcohol a lot of the times to cope with things that they can't talk about or they can't deal with in being sober. So they usually turn to alcohol and sometimes even drugs. And that's not a good mix, especially when you find demons that, you need to seek professional help for it. Going to alcohol is not the way to go.
I thought it was interesting just now when you said that this book is a story about your father's story, but it was from the point of view of your mother. Why did you choose to have it from her point of view?
Well, I chose to have it from my mother's point of view because my father's not here to actually tell his story. So I went to my mom and I actually had that sit down with her when I decided that I wanted to move forward with turning Sunshine Day into a book and into a screenplay. And I had that sit down with her, and everything was from her point of view, basically. And so that's why I chose to do it from my mother's point of view.
I was wondering, when you talk, your mother is still alive to this day. How I think, how do you guys ever live in those moments of some of the tragedies that you guys went through in the book? Like, as it's 2020 now, you know, and what you talked about in the book was colorful. So I'm wondering, since we talk about mental illness, have we ever did anything in between it to, like, does it become normal with that type of story?
Well, I'll answer the first part of your question. And I think you were asking me, is that something that do me and my family ever talk about the tragedy before my writing or before the book and the movie came out? To answer your question, no, that's something, and I think that's kind of what inspired me to write, because I needed understanding that I didn't have. I was young, I was 5 years old when it happened. I was right there, me and the rest of my siblings, watching it unfold. And just to grow up and you relive that over and over again, but you're afraid to talk to someone about it because you don't know how they react, because it's such a sensitive subject, and we never talked about it. And when I came out, and I want to say maybe 2 years prior to that, we finally did have a sit down as a family and just talk about it. It became too emotional, so the conversation kind of halted. So when I brought up the movie, it was just like we were reliving it all over again, but it was therapeutic. I think that it was very much so needed, and you know, we just move on from there. But no, my family is still a very sensitive subject, and for me right now, it's really sensitive for me to talk about it.
Yeah. When you say that your family came together to talk about it, and I'm sorry that I keep mentioning this, because when I was reading, because it is a play, I became everybody in a story. And so at one point, you know, I was Josh when Josh was talking to his dad, Josh Sr., when he decided to go to Sunshine House, and he had just came from the therapist. He had just came from the therapist, and then nothing worked. What the therapist was saying, it wasn't to Josh Senior had said something to him about drinking, and which gave him enough courage to go talk to Sunshine. And then I'm wondering if you could talk about how close family could be to being your therapist, because a lot of people right now, you know, we are on the high hat this about like go to therapy, but do we leave out like the most important therapists, like the ones that's super duper close to us that could possibly help us more? I don't know.
I absolutely think so. And I think the reason being is because people are afraid of being judged, you know, and sometimes we are our worst enemy sometimes when it comes to judging. There's a lot of stigma behind mental illness, and people just don't want to talk about it. And also, just, yeah, it's, excuse me, but this is but
It's so sensitive. So how the book though, you know, it's so sensitive. So now everybody have access to it. Is this helping you?
It actually has, actually. I could talk about it, and to be honest with you, before my book came out, my husband, who I've been with for 21 years, I talked to him about it once, and he didn't know the huge details until after everything was all said and done, until I let him proofread it. I have friends who I've been with friends for 30 years, never knew a thing about that part of my life because I chose to keep it to myself. And that goes back to what you were just asking. You're kind of afraid because you don't want to be judged. You don't want someone to say, oh, well, you know, oh, this happened to you, or your father did this. So, oh my God. So you must, you know, that's probably how you're going to turn out. You know, you're just afraid to open up some certain part of your life to certain people. And sometimes that's family as well.
Mm-hmm.
People just rather keep it to themselves, which is not a good thing because it can mess you up mentally if you don't talk about it.
So you mentioned this being therapeutic for you to write the book, and has your views on mental health and therapy changed since writing this book?
Good question.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that it's very important to, if you haven't thoughts of suicide or whatever the case may be, thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else is very important. If you don't talk to a family member, if you don't feel like talking to someone who's close to you and who you feel like gonna judge you, then definitely go talk to someone. But I mean, that's important.
In the book, you kind of, since you kind of brought up the suicide part, and I'm sorry that this is, but Josh had attempted, right? But who do you think about that part of it, that it didn't happen? And do you use that as a way for faith, or like to build you up, or to keep going when, like, when you think it's something, but somebody else got the final say, because there was an incident where he did try, but and I was thinking, like, wow, when I read it, I'm like, how did, okay. So I was wondering, like, does that connect to like your faith anywhere? Does that do anything for like how you look at like faith nowadays and divine order?
I feel like when it's a person's time, everything, I've always believed that everything is written. I stand on that to this day. Okay. Everything is written. Things are gonna happen in the order in which they should, or meant to happen, I should say. Okay.
So then, speaking more about your father, do you forgive him for what happened?
At first, I was, until I started writing, and that's why I say it was very therapeutic for me, because I had so many unanswered questions, and just writing Sunshine Day gave me answers to a lot of those questions, and I absolutely forgive my dad. I do. I don't think in a million years he would have ever done anything like that if he wasn't going through what he was going through. I just wish that he would have sought help, and just things would be different. He and my other family members will still be here today.
When you say things to be different, Rebecca was talking a little bit about when you lost your Josh Senior's mom, his wife. When Josh lost his mom and she went to the hospital with an issue with her leg, and we was kind of talking about like the disparities in like healthcare when it comes like to like Black people and the care that we get. In the book, it kind of talks about like they gave her the medicine. Did you guys ever like dabble in like that, as far as like what they did was like wrong? Because in the book you didn't really talk about like a fault of it.
Well, I didn't talk about that in the book because the book was about my dad. But however, that situation, there was a lawsuit, and that the family filed years and years and years ago when it happened. So yeah, the doctors were found at fault for that. So they did move forward and do what they needed to do to get justice for my grandmother.
Okay.
We just had a question pop up from someone in the audience, asking about what do you think would have happened if not to give away too much, but if your mom had gone to Atlanta.
I honestly don't know. I don't know. That's something that I can't answer. And you know what? And to be honest, I've never thought about it.
That's one thing we, and I'm glad that they asked that, because me and Rebecca talked about it. I'm like, and I said it just like this, Ms. Warren, if she just had made it to Atlanta.
And I do want to say this as well. Although Sunshine Day is loosely based on a true story, everything in Sunshine Day, some things are made up for the story purposes, but as far as the entire tragedy and everything that happened with my grandmother, with my father, and all of that, and my other grandmother and uncle, all of that is what happened. And some of the things in the story is made up for entertainment purposes.
Okay. Well, you did a really good job of hooking me in. You broke my heart a couple times. I thought I wasn't going to finish it, but I'm like, I have to finish it. But just to know how it had ended, because you also just ended it like after the incident. We were also talking like, well, why did you end it like that? Like, it's so many questions I'm sure, your readers wanted to know, like, why was that okay, wrap it up.
Because at the end of the day, that was the point that I was trying to get across. Okay. If you don't seek help for your mental illness, if you have one, then that could possibly be the outcome. And your mental illness does not just affect you, it affects your entire family. And it's like once you're gone and you dead and gone, your family is still here on earth and still living through it every minute, every hour, every second of the day.
How was the process for you of turning it into a movie? That's something that I know absolutely nothing about.
Turning it into a movie was something different, something, of course, I've never done or whatever. But the process in it all, I had an amazing director who's actually my mentor, taught me everything I know. He kind of like took the torch and led the way and walked me through everything. And, and it was a fun experience. And I can't wait for it to drop other projects.
Speaking of other projects, we want to congratulate you on your award. Can you please tell some of the viewers about the award and what that company does and why they highlighted you?
Well, I was shocked when I received the email about my award because I had absolutely no idea. I wasn't it was just a total shock to me. But the Black Excellence Award Committee, they pretty much just recognize African American people of the arts in different aspects of the arts. And, it's a panel of judges. They sit down and they take a vote of who they feel like is deserving of that particular award for that particular category. And I was chosen, and I'm so grateful for that.
Well, congratulations on that. We're kind of wrapping up on time, but so what we want to do is the point of this is for people to buy your book, April. So we want them to buy it from us. I think like now that we've read it and we had a conversation about it, and some of our viewers, I'm sure they want to know, like, wait a minute, what happened? I think that it will open up a lot of doors to domestic violence and like looking out for like signs where our loved one needs help. And trying our best to get help so that, because we just never know what's going to happen.
Yes, and it's okay to talk to somebody. I mean, even if you talk to a pastor or a priest, talk to somebody. Don't hold it in because it's just going to make matters worse. Right.
Okay, Rebecca, did you want to kind of talk a little bit about Rose Café and some of the Christmas things that we have coming up?
Yeah, of course. So, like we said earlier, we're Rose Café. We're in the process of opening a brick and mortar in Roseland. We're hoping to be open next summer. We're very excited about it. We're going to be a cafe and a bookstore. But before we open, we've been having virtual events like this, and we've been selling books online. So we are selling Sunshine Day online. If anybody is interested, they can send us an email or buy it on our website. And before the holidays come up, we've been having gift boxes where we've put together different items from local businesses in Chicago and 2 books. So we still have a few available. You can get them on our website. And we have some exciting things coming up where we're going to be donating books and toys to kids in the community. And I think that's it for now, and we're starting to plan for next year, and we're just very excited to highlight authors and read more. I have so many books that I need to read, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah, April, your book was really good. I appreciate how real it was. Even though you say you threw some things in there for entertainment, everything seemed so real. It was written so well. I couldn't put it down. I read it in about 2 hours. And I do want to ask you, like, how do you feel about high school kids reading that book? Like, would you say that's more for like adults? If we had like a project about like girls who are in situations, because it was about young love. You know, the young love it became old.
Yes. Well, I have a writing style now, and I think it has a lot to do with me writing Sunshine Day. That's what my that's what I gear towards when I do my writings now. And if you can see Sunshine Day, you see the type of format it was written in, which is play format. I did that for a reason because my goal was to take it in under my not-for-profit and teach it to the students, and then they were supposed to put on a stage play for the movie. For the book. COVID got in the way and things happened, but that is still my goal. I will have to revise it because there's a lot of profanity and things of that nature in there, but definitely that is my goal.
Okay, so you would agree that like some younger people could benefit from this story, just
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. A lot of young people are going through the same exact thing that my family went through. And some people think it's cute. They think it's normal for a guy to hit them, beat them, and vice versa. Men, you shouldn't let a woman hit you either, but so many people have taken that as being normal, and it's not, and it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So a lot of young people definitely need to read the book. They definitely need to watch the movie. And I think that they will learn from it. It's kind of like, it's there to kind of like scare you in a sense, because like, hey, well, if you don't take these measures, then this could happen,
and with the towns we're living in, with the teens that we're working with, sometimes you need a drastic measure. You need a shock like this. I told my mother the story. I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, people go through stuff. And I really appreciate you exposing that. So I think it can help us start looking at people in a different way, like what they outer is and what they possibly is going through is two different things. And we got to kind of be knowledgeable of that.
Yep, I agree.
Well, April, that is our time. We appreciate you talking to us. We will send you, because we record these and we usually put them on YouTube. So we put all our author talks on there. So we'll post ours shortly.
And we'll send you the shirt too.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate being on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.